It's April of 2021 and I'm sitting in my room one night scrolling on TikTok, at which point I come across a video of this guy talking about corn and how bad it is for your brain. I remember he went into all this stuff on dopamine chemistry, which I didn't quite understand at the time, but the more I watched this video, the more stressed out I became, because by this point I'd been watching it 2 or 3 times a day. So I tell myself I'm gonna quit. I have to quit, otherwise I'm cooked. But after I watch this TikTok, I decide I'm gonna do it one last time and then never again, crank one more out. So I get up the hub, I do exactly that. It takes me all of about 5 minutes. And immediately after I do it, I just go back to scrolling on TikTok. And now I'm getting recommended all these videos on something called NoFap, which I hadn't heard of before. And this time there's a guy talking about all the benefits of it, And one of the things that stuck out to me was increased testosterone, because I'd been going to the gym at the time, and obviously higher testosterone makes you put on muscle quicker. All right, so the next day I start on this NoFap thing, and I get maybe 1 or 2 days in, I relapse, start again. And I didn't realize I had a problem with watching corn until I finally stopped, and I kept relapsing on the 2nd or 3rd day. But I remember one week I got 7 days in, and on the 7th day I saw a TikTok of someone saying about how you have to release your seed every 7 days to keep healthy cells or something like that. So I do my meal prep that afternoon, I get in the shower and I crank one out. I didn't watch corn this time, but I used my imagination. So now it was back to day 1. So it was at this point that I decided I'm going to start this challenge called the 75 Hard, which is pretty much just 75 days of extremely disciplined habits. And one of my rules for this challenge was I had to do NoFap for the full 75 days. But I remember I start the challenge, I'm doing the exercise part of it, I'm doing the diet, everything else. But I'd always fail NoFap on day 2 or 3, meaning that every 2 or 3 days I had to restart the challenge over and over again because I just kept relapsing. I couldn't help myself, bro. Now keeping in mind, it's around the start of June at this time, and I hadn't lost my V card yet, but we fast forward to September of the same year and I lose my V card to my girlfriend. And you would think now, having that physical connection in my life, I would sort of shy away from watching corn and my lust addiction would get a lot better. But it just got worse from here, because now, not only was I watching corn 2-3 times a day, I was also having that, physical connection. So if anything, it really just amplified it more. But it gets to July of 2022, and by this point, I may be watching it once or twice a day. So not as bad as 2 or 3, but still not good. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had all the symptoms of a corn addict. Really pale, dry skin, acne all over my face, really tired when I'd wake up in the morning. I'd never wake up full of energy. I'd need to set 5 or 6 alarms just to get myself out of bed. I'd pedestalized women, even my girlfriend. I had a very short temper. I'd get into arguments with her very quickly. And most of the arguments that we got into could have easily been avoided if I hadn't have been watching corn at the time, because the decision to watch corn itself is an emotion-led decision. Giving into any of your short-term desires is led by emotion. It's you doing exactly what you feel in the moment. You're giving into that emotion, right? So the more I gave into that emotion, the more my emotions were amplified. Now, every time we'd have some alone time together, I would ask to do some of these things that I'd seen in the corn videos, and obviously she would say no. And without me even realizing it, subconsciously, I began to resent her for that, because I'd set a standard of what I expected from a partner because I utilized my brain so much from watching corn. So the more she said no, the more I began to resent her, leading to more arguments. And I didn't even realize that that was the case. So I break up with her in August, and I would literally say the last few months of being together with her, I was purely just staying with her for the physical connection side of things. As messed up as that is and, sounds, I was telling myself, I'm going to stay with her for that reason. She doesn't want me to leave, and I don't want to have to put the work into another girl so I can get to that point of, physical connection with them. And I think this is a trap that a lot of young men fall into. They think to themselves, oh, I'm not attractive enough. I'm never going to be attractive enough, so I'll just settle for what I've got, even if I'm unhappy. And bro, as messed up as this sounds and is, the last few months that we were together, I was literally pretending that she was someone else when we would connect, But after we break up, I do try and hit up a few new girls who weren't interested for obvious reasons, acne all over my face. I was a cone head at the time. And I think this is, once again, something that so many young men make the mistake of doing after they get out of a relationship. Instead of focusing on their shortcomings, the things that they could be doing better, focusing on improving themselves for their next relationship, they try and jump straight into another one. And if they're successful in doing that, 9 times out of 10, they're going to end up with someone the same or even worse than their last partner, and it's going to end the exact same as the last relationship. This is just what I've seen from my peers, people around me, people I've spoken to, but fortunately enough, I didn't manage to find anyone. So after I get rejected by a couple of girls, I stop bothering talking to girls altogether. I start punching cones, and I make up all of these issues to the deputy and my mum, and that grants me access to be able to go home after the third period at school. So 12 o'clock, which meant I had a whole half day to do whatever I want. So I spent this going home, watching Corn for the rest of the day and ripping billies. So now I've gone from what was maybe 1 or 2 times a day watching Corn to now 5 or 6 because I had all this extra free time. And I remember one night, bro, I was so down bad that I asked for some photos of this conehead chick from school, and obviously she sends them to me. And bro, I remember after that, I was actually considering, getting with this girl, and she wanted to do that at school. And as I said, I was seriously considering it, bro. But fast forward to September of 2023. I've given up all my vices, I've dropped my bad habits. I'm not watching Corn anymore. I'm not punching cones. I'm not touching anything else. So I start talking to this new girl, and in October, we begin to do things more and more. And I would say after doing things a few times, I begin to become addicted to physical connection, which I would argue is just as bad as being addicted to Corn, because I just replaced one vice with the other. And once again, I didn't know it at the time, but this was the start of what was to be a lust-fueled relationship. Every single time I would talk to this girl on Snapchat, we were almost always talking about lust and the things we were going to do together. I'd always get her G'd up to come over from the things that I'd say. I'd get her all excited to come over to my house. And bro, in my mind I knew it was wrong, but I'm sure you can relate to when lust sort of just overpowers any other emotion or any other thought that you may be experiencing. But it gets to February of 2024, and I decide to part ways with this girl because I can feel myself becoming attached to her. And I knew it was for all the wrong reasons. I was just leading by lust. I knew that the entire time. So I finally decided to make the decision that I should have made months before. And I tell her that I'm going to use this time to focus on myself. That's why I'm having to part ways with her. But I actually choose to start watching Corn again, maybe 2 or 3 days after I did stop talking to her. I quickly realized that I shouldn't be doing it. And I stopped maybe a week later. And in April, I lock in. I ended up starting this business at the time. Fast forward to June, I leave my job to pursue that business. But we get to August and said business starts failing. I'm losing money. I've lost loads of money at this point. I'm super stressed out. So what does a 17-year-old boy who is stressed out do? He looks for a way to escape. He starts watching Corn. So I'm doing that maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And bro, this was one of the lowest points in my life. I'd left my job. I was now almost completely broke. Still had acne all over my face. Wasn't making any progress anywhere else. My YouTube was at like 150 subscribers or something like that. But fast forward to September, I've sort of managed to get out of that bad habit. I didn't let myself get too deep into it. I'm trying to get this business back off the ground. And so I've asked this girl to come around to my house and help me make some advertisements for the product that I was selling. So she does, and we keep that up for about a month. So it gets to October, and one day she's helping me, but one thing sort of leads to another, and we end up physically connecting again. And as soon as I, finish, instant regret. I'm hit with all these different emotions: guilt, shame, this sense of resentment towards myself. I knew what I just did was wrong. I'd been on YouTube for the past few months at this point, preaching all this stuff about self-improvement, no fat, focus on yourself, don't focus on girls. And I'd just done that. So bro, trust me when I say, you're not missing lust, you're missing love. Work on yourself, focus on building yourself to be as good as possible, and you will attract a woman worth loving. Because bro, with all due respect, these girls that I was with in the past, they weren't worth my love. in the sense that I was working on myself, actually trying to be better. Sure, I had my flaws. I was not perfect, as I've just explained, but these girls were not focused on bettering themselves. They were focused on the short-term dopamine, and I feel that rubbed off on me whilst being in relationships with them. It's still my fault. I'm not blaming anyone else, but focus on yourself and you will find a woman who's doing the same. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Self-love is holding yourself to a higher standard than anyone else. So until you find a girl who genuinely respects herself to that level, you just keep improving, bro. Keep working on yourself. Stay focused, stay working. All right, hope this video helped. Hit that sub button. Stay grinding, bro. I've been working on my streetwear brand known as Hectic Threads for the past couple of years, and today I'm here with a very limited time offer of $20 off your very first order using code Lukey. I wholeheartedly believe that together we can make this brand renowned for the message and vision that it embodies. So please, if you're enjoying the content, consider copping some Hectic Threads using code Lukey at checkout. Love you, bro.